places where the grace hides, in the corners of the corridors where light descends, to enter only partially and filter through. It cracks up every broken thing I walk through. I found a kind of beauty that the bright days miss, a kind of understanding only darkness gives. To the ones who sit inside it long enough to stop demanding that it be less dark and rough, and start instead to notice what the darkness holds, beyond the fear, the stories that the shadow tells, of every soul who sat inside the same dark room and found that grace was there before the gloom. Uplifted grace was there within the shadow. Grace was present in the valley and the meadow of the darkest season. Grace was in the in-between of what the darkness covered and what light had seen. There is a kind of grace that only shadows know, a grace that lives precisely where the lights don't go, where the performances are ended and the marks are down, where the throne is just a chair and not a crown, where the human underneath the everything is bare, unbroken and uncertain, and the only prayer is simply let me make it, let me find a way through the shadow into grace another day. I have known the shadows, I have sat inside the darkest corners of my life with nowhere left to hide from the question of the mirror and the weight of more than any single soul was probably built for. And in the darkest corner, in the shadow there, came something unexpected, something rare, a grace that was not earned and not deserved, a grace that simply showed up in the dark unreserved. I found grace in the shadows where I least expected it. I found grace in the broken, in the disconnected bit of myself that I thought was too far gone to heal. I found grace in the shadows and it was real, more real than anything the spotlight ever showed, more permanent than anything the success bestowed. I found grace in the shadows, grace in the dark, grace in the shadows, grace like a spark that needed no permission, no applause, no stage. Grace in the shadows, grace in every age of my life that I considered was a waste. Grace in the shadows, grace found me in haste and made itself at home inside the broken space. I found grace in the shadows, I found grace. How to reach us, how to hold the ones who sit inside the dark and cold.
Grace in shadows, grace in shadows.
Jah Almighty never lets the shadows swallow those who seek with honest hearts in the dark. Grace in shadows, grace that lights the spark. Seasons that I do not photograph, seasons that did not make it to the aftermath of my public life because they were too raw, too unfiltered, too honest and too far from the image that like God.